Well, I have a very, very revolutionary show for you today. I've invited my friend Michelle June, who is my neighbor, and we're sort of related because our dogs are in love with each other. But Michelle has the most interesting job, and I think it's going to affect every single one of us. I'm trying to build the suspense. It's going to affect every single one of us. It probably has already affected every single one of us. And Michelle is involved in the world, kind of a secretive world, maybe, of influencers. So, welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
This is going to be really wonderful because I know this is important and I know I've been affected by it, but I have no idea. So, what is an influencer?
What is an influencer?
Yes.
Question of the year, isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay, well, so I'm sure a lot of people have different descriptions for what an influencer is. But personally, for me, an influencer is essentially a digital content creator with background and knowledge on a niche topic. So that's the
Okay.
short version of what I would say an influencer is.
And okay, so what's the difference between that and an expert in a field?
Yeah, I mean, look, an expert in a field may have a degree in or a PhD in a certain category or topic. As far with an influencer, it's a little bit more lighter and more fun. After all, social media is meant to be fun. It's meant to be social. It's not meant to be something that a doctor preaches to you or a professor preaches to you. It's supposed to be an average person who you can relate to, and they're the ones telling you recommendations and advice on their personal experience. And so, if you think about it in that sense, it's more like word of mouth marketing.
Oh, and that's over the internet.
Exactly. It's all on the
I mean,
internet
I guess internet's is old fashioned. I should say it's all online. And is
now.
it
Yes.
done through social media? How is it
Correct.
done?
Correct. It is. It is. So just to take a step back a little bit, not brand backer, but social influencer marketing is one of the newest forms of marketing. We've had Facebook, we've had Instagram, and then we have newer ones like TikTok and Snapchat that's sort of taking off. But back when I first graduated college, 10 years ago, Facebook was just peaking. YouTube was relevant, but not really. Twitter was around. But as you know, right now, everyone is on Instagram. That has been by far the leading social media channel across all age groups. So I'm so sorry. What was the question? Kind
Oh,
of went on a
well,
rant there.
but it's done through social media. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
in
Oh,
the
and
old
so you
days, it
asked
was
how does it work?
advertising. In the old days, it was, I don't know, brochures but
Exactly.
this is now like one on one almost.
Yeah, exactly. So we did it. There was a huge shift between traditional marketing and digital marketing, and I actually have a lot of experience in traditional marketing in my earlier career in the marketing field. So I did things like outdoor marketing. So think bus shelters, billboards. I worked at a French company that worked specifically for the airport division. So
Oh,
whenever you're at an airport and you see all of those billboards and even signs everywhere, that's what JC Deco was the company that I worked for. That's what they did. I also worked in traditional PR, and I worked at various different agencies. However, I want to say about 8 to 10 years ago, there was this shift, and everyone was very excited and kind of hesitant at the same time because with anything that changes, right? There's a group of people that are against it, and then there's a group of people that embrace it. But at this point, if you haven't embraced it, you're sort of out of luck here, because you have to follow the times. You have to follow where people are looking. And Betty, you live in New York City. You see people on the bus, you see people on the streets. They're on their phone. They're not looking up and around, and they're not, looking at magazines. They're scrolling, they're scrolling through their phone constantly. So, for brands to stay relevant and to continue their momentum of brand awareness, they really have to be on digital. And that's sort of how this influencer marketing started, because they're seeing that the real estate is no longer in the form of a magazine or in the form of TV commercials. It's all on your phone. It's all on social media.
Now, when you say it's on social media, it's not I haven't even really talked about you, but I want everyone to understand this, because you're the only person that I know that is so deep into this. So when we talk about it's social media, this is not an ad.
It's not. There's an organic post and there is a sponsored ad, right? So there's different types of influencers, and it really depends on where you are in your influencer journey. Of course, if you're just starting out as an influencer and you have less than 1,000 followers, you would most likely work with brands just for product exchange. So what you would do is you would either reach out to a brand that you like, or I think on average right now, an influencer between 2,000 and 10,000 followers is what we call a micro influencer. Gets about 3 to 5 inquiries a day from various brands. And basically the idea is that a brand says, hey, I like the look on your feed. I'm talking about Instagram in particular at this moment. I think you're creative. I think you have, the vibe that represents our brand well. And we would love to send you, an X amount of products for you to try. And then in return, we ask that you post about it either on your stories or on your feed. And then all of their followers get to see that this influencer is endorsing this product. And then it sort of, spreads from there.
So clearly, if the person mentions XYZ soap, then how does XYZ soap know? I mean, she adds them to her people who are following her.
Exactly. So
if they send it out that she or he is they just show what's going on.
Exactly. So if we wanted to take this XYZ soap and sort of take it to the next level, the brand will come to me and say, look, we're looking for women between 20 to 35, maybe moms who really value self-care time, right? And so we actually have a platform of 30,000 influencers of all different
30,000 people do this, at least.
More, but just on our network alone, yes, we have over 30,000 influencers of all different sizes, which is why a lot of companies, they either do this in-house or they outsource to a platform. And I work for a platform, and it's so much easier to work with a platform, because if you can imagine sending out hundreds of products to all of these people, making sure that you collect their addresses, making sure that you send them the tracking info, making sure that you follow up and they create the post. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of tedious work.
And how do you find them?
They kind of come to us. I mean, they know that we're a platform. We work with brands, and they sign up. They create an account, and if they're interested in a campaign, they'll apply. So it's inbound versus outbound. If you work in-house versus on a platform.
Wow. How do they become influencers with 1,000 with 2,000 to 10,000 fall? How does a person accumulate that many people?
just like any other craft, it takes time and dedication and effort. An average person, I would say, has about 400 followers on Instagram, and that's just mainly friends and family. Now, to get people that don't know you but respect what you do to follow you is on that next level, right? So it's a combination of things. To be an influencer, you really have to either know someone who's a great photographer or know how to take great photography yourself, right? So, a lot of brands want to make sure that their products are being shown in high resolution. They want to be shown stylized in a very creative way. They don't want just someone holding up the soap and saying, "This is a great soap," because it comes off very, not genuine. Exactly. So there is a little bit of an art to curating the posts and being able to stylize the post in a way that is interesting to look at. So that's part one. Part two, and this is the harder part, it takes time. A lot of people think, oh, why am I not growing overnight? I mean, my husband, Quentin, he's a musician, he's a professor. He started out just like everybody else with 400 followers, which were family and friends. Now he has over 10,000 followers.
Wow.
And, he worked at it. I mean, of course, with my help, but he worked at it for, a couple of years to get to where he is. And you have to be consistent. You have to post. You don't want to overwhelm or spam your feed. So you don't want to be posting like over 3 times a day, but you have to be very consistent with your posting. You have to be very relevant. So what Quentin will do, for instance, is every Tuesdays, he'll do what's called a Technique Tuesday. And he'll just do a quick riff of a scale or something easy for other people to follow. And then every week he gets, hundreds of submissions from people doing
them.
his.
I've seen hey, this is me doing this, and
people follow it and people repost it, and then he reposts it, and it's sort of like that's what social marketing is all about. It's all about communication. It's all about being able to go outside of your immediate network and branch out. And funnily enough, most of his audience, they're not even based in the US. They're based in Germany. They're based in, all Spain, all over the world. So it's a really great way for you to stay connected with people just, that you normally wouldn't be able to connect with.
Every morning during this strange time, I have taken, this is now 45 days, every morning from 10 to 11:30, I take a Japanese calligraphy course.
Nice.
I know. And I love it. And the people are from every country you can. I mean, sometimes we have 15 people. We had a woman this morning from Bulgaria. We have people from Uruguay. I mean, it is so incredible how we get to meet these people. And together we do this, but that's different than what you're talking about. This social, or these influencers, I don't know if it's a social influencer or an influencer, what makes them such influencers that other people would listen to them? It's not who they are, it's the way they present the product. Is that?
Yeah, it's not always, I mean, when you look at an influencer's page, it's not all about brands. They show their life, whether or not it's 100% authentic, they still present their life, right? So let's say you're a mom and you're a mom influencer. You're not always posting about baby products. You're posting pictures of your vacations with the babies. You're posting pictures of TV. You're coming off. You're pretty much putting your life in the form of those little square grids, right, on Instagram. And
Right.
that's what people initially follow, right? Because if you're a new mom and there's another mom who's providing value and education and helping you with things that you normally wouldn't know about. And again, it's different coming from a doctor. This is just another mom, an average mom going through something similar to you. You're more likely to want to follow that person and take their advice, because doctors and brands themselves can say how great something is, but when it comes from somebody else that you follow and you trust, it has so much more
Right.
impact.
But it doesn't look like an advertisement. But are we being kind of duped or persuaded by these people? It's not an all out and out, like exposed that, hey, I'm Betty Lee and I use this. It's not that. It's all mushed in with your life, and I'm not putting
Yeah.
it down. I'm fascinated by it.
Well, there's definitely disclosures in place. So if you did receive a product in exchange for the post, you are supposed to use a hashtag to show that you did get gifted. So you can do hashtag gifted, hashtag ad, or hashtag sponsored, and you really should follow those guidelines, and disclose to your audience that you did receive some type of compensation, whether it was just the product or even monetary value. But again, because these influencers have, let's say on average, 5,000 to 10,000 followers, that follow their stories and follow their feed, if your brand is showing up on their prime real estate, you're getting exposed to all of those people, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's the advantage here, versus if, some random person on TV is saying, I use this soap and it's great. It's clearly produced, right? And it's clearly an actor. So I guess it's the way that I guess try, because we have so many resources at our fingertips. We can Google anything at this point. I think the way that people are making purchasing behaviors have changed. And just to give you a great example, Betty, you and I both have dogs. We mentioned earlier that our dogs are best friends.
They're in love.
If you, yes, and they're definitely in love. But if you told me about a dog product that was, really, really something you felt strongly about, I am more likely to buy what you recommended to me as a friend to a friend, right? Than some company themselves telling me that this is the best thing ever that happened. Right. So it's that same idea. It's that same idea that influencers are, and I got to tell you, like, I have a lot of influencers I work with that say, I don't feel comfortable representing a brand that's not cruelty free, or I don't feel comfortable using certain chemicals on these baby products. So they're not, know they're not going to just do it because there's money involved. They're very true to themselves, and they will stick to what they believe in because they know that their followers rely on them for honest advice. So, that's just another aspect of that.
Wow, that's a whole different. See, I didn't see it like that. What age? This is what I wonder about. So, what age is this? Just for people your age? And my daughter, who's 30, I can't even believe I'm saying she's 39. Is it for young people?
Yes and no. I definitely have influencers who pride themselves for being over 50, and they have a lot of inquiries from brands that, especially skincare brands that focus on anti-aging. But the reason why it is primarily for, I want to say, between 25 to 40 is because you're not that young, so you understand how to work with a brand.
Yeah.
you're reliable and you're not focused on schoolwork. You probably are in your first or second job. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. But then when it gets to over 40, we find that there's a little bit of a drop off, mostly because that age group, may not be as tech savvy, or B, may not care about their social media as much as someone in their 20s or 30s.
Right. But I'm a person of a certain age, definitely, and I do as an actress, I do television commercials for products that are relevant for older people.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really interesting about it is that it is so forced. I mean, a lot of these commercials, it's me saying, hi, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I don't want, and, I'd like to say, hey, I'm Betty, and this is what it is. So that's what you're talking about, is that it's a very one-on-one, even though it's over social media. But
Exactly.
I would think people like my age, I would think they would like to hear. I think that's a group that maybe is being ignored, maybe because maybe people believe that older people don't use the computer as much.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you. I've had brands ask me specifically for ages 40 and up, or 50 and up. And, there just isn't, even on our platform, I told you we had about 30,000 plus influencers. The majority of those influencers are between a certain age group. So they're just harder to find because there's less of them. But that doesn't mean that you can't be an influencer because of your age.
I
In,
think I think that's an untapped, if I may say, because people my age, my friends, we're on the internet all the time, and
Mhm.
like everybody else, we're looking at Instagram and we're looking at all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that. I mean, my friends are a little bit crazed. Some of these people maybe aren't working or whatever it is. They love the internet. So I'm just saying that's like maybe an untapped thing. So I think of an influencer pretty much about skincare. I would think um, diet things. This is just my imagination. Am I right?
Yes and no. Again, we have brands that focus on skincare, cosmetics, but we also have pet supplies, we have fashion, we have
Wow.
electronics. But the thing is, you have to understand that with skincare, it's easier to give away a lot more products to a lot more people because it doesn't cost them as much as if you
Right.
were giving everyone an iPad. Right. So I think that's sort of, and even with fashion, you're working with luxury brands, you're giving away something that costs at a retail value of, a few $1,000s. So then you have much higher expectations. So the sweet spot here, especially as it relates to my company, is that rather than working with one celebrity, let's say Kim Kardashian, who charges, I don't know, maybe $10,000 per post, right? Or working with,
Why would anyone trust? I'm just going to interrupt you for a second.
sure.
Keep the thought.
Okay.
Why would anybody? I wouldn't take her recommendation because I know she's paid for. It's not an. I mean, is that terrible? Am I going to get in trouble for saying that? But I
Oh,
wouldn't,
no.
because she's clearly brilliant marketer, but she's for sale. And if she
Yeah.
says something, I would think, no, I want to hear from like someone who's not quite such a high profile as a brand.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, I think once upon a time, influencers to us were celebrities, right? They were the ones who had all of these followers because
Right.
they're well known and they want to follow what they're up to. But the price of a Kim Kardashian post could be equivalent to 1,000 smaller people.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean? So like, what is the value in that? And all of the Kim Kardashian followers, they're not maybe following her for her skincare recommendations. They might be following her for so many other reasons. So they're not really a targeted group per se. So and so that's why at the beginning, when you asked me what I consider to be an influencer, it's someone who really does have a focus, like who focuses on one or two things, and it's fashion, or it's it's skincare, or it's makeup, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's how you build that trust. But I just did a quick search, right? So a lot of times we find influencers through the hashtags that they include in their caption. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the hashtags.
Yeah.
But that's sort of how you get discovered. And of course, you want to make sure that your profile is public, because if it's private, then brands will never find you. But one of the times that we did get asked to find bloggers over 50, I honestly just looked at hashtag blogger over 50, and there's 4,362 posts with that hashtag. Now,
Really?
yep. Now, if I do blogger over 30, or that's not a lot, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's not nothing, but bloggers in their 30s are not going to say blogger over 30 in their hashtag, right?
I see.
But like, let's say, for instance, I do NYC blogger, right? And look up that hashtag, just to give you a
blogger and an influencer is not the same thing.
I'll get to that in one second. But hashtag NYC blogger has over 1.3 million posts associated with that hashtag, right? So yes, to answer your earlier question, there is an untapped market, and I think that maybe there's a little bit of fear and intimidation, but the ones that do work at their craft over 50, they're actually really, really good. So yeah, and they worked hard for it. It's not an overnight thing, so that's that. And to answer your question between what the difference between the term blogger and influencer, when I first started, we were calling everyone bloggers. And mostly that has a lot to do with the fact that blogs were sort of one of the bigger channels that people wanted to focus on. But then we realized that the long format, like a lot of reading on blogs, was not as successful as captions on Instagram, because people's attentions are just they're not as you have to get them like right at that first, they're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, they're scrolling at the speed of light, so you have to really capture their attention. So blogs, I want to say, have sort of taken a back seat to Instagram, and so I think the whole marketing world sort of like decoined the term blogger, and then now we're using the word influencer a lot more. However, when we use hashtags, bloggers are still relevant because they still consider themselves to be a blogger.
See, when I see all those hashtags, I mean, I'm just admitting to you, I had no idea what that all meant. I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I had an idea, but I didn't know that there was some responsibility or some connection with it.
Yes. The reason why people include hashtags in their caption is so that they can get discovered by people looking for that specific hashtag.
Wow. I see.
Yeah.
Doing this podcast is really incredible. And I don't know if you've listened to any of the other ones, but there's just so many interesting, amazing, like, people that I've dealt with, and the numbers soar. The numbers are getting better and better and better because this one listened and then that one listened, but it never occurred to me about the hashtag thing, but it comes from a company called Podbean, and they probably have all the big podcasters, and they talk clearly that social media is 100% the way to get a message out, for want of a, 9 other ways to say that, but just to get a message out and just to have people respond and listen and have it be moved around. It's social media. I don't know how we'll never get over social media. I mean, now more than ever.
And also you have to understand that social media is a broad term, right? And all of the different platforms that are underneath the social media umbrella are things like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I think I mentioned YouTube as well. And each platform actually geared towards a different age demo. So for instance, as I mentioned earlier, Instagram is mostly 25 to 35. And then we have Facebook, which skews towards an older audience. Like right now when I go on Facebook, all of my comments are from my older aunts and uncles and family members.
I gotcha.
None of my friends are writing to me on Facebook. They're all DMing me on Instagram. And then TikTok has even a younger audience, which I would say is more like high school, college. So yeah, I mean, honestly, every platform, you can't really say social media without understanding that every platform sort of skews to a different age demographic.
And even with Facebook, even with YouTube, I have different aspects, like we all do, of my personality. And I listen to a lot of different kind of music, and I subscribe to the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, and then John Prine. I mean, I'm all kind of that. So that means that I can skew in a lot of different categories.
Yeah. YouTube is an actually very interesting platform because YouTube is one of the hardest platforms that you can become successful on, and the reason for that is you have to have really great lighting. You have to have a great camera. You have to have a personality. You can't just get away with a picture on Instagram. You can stylize a photo and you're done. But on YouTube, you really have to show your personality, because you're talking through a tutorial, or you're showing how you're cooking, or you're showing one of your yoga routines, right? So there's a lot more at risk there. So a lot of times brands will say to me, "Oh, we just want YouTubers, but we have absolutely no budget to pay anyone. We just want to send them this $10 water bottle." And that's sort of frustrating for me, because brands don't realize that influencers, especially the good ones that create good content, they're getting inquiries from, so many brands every day offering them money. So sometimes they get offended and they're like, how dare you reach out to me and offer me a $10 bottle and expect me to create content for you that takes 8 hours of filming and editing and, all of this stuff. And for me as the middleman, I completely understand where the influencer is coming from. And then so it's my job to sort of explain to the brands, look, like YouTube is a lot harder, and it's harder to become more successful on there than it is on Instagram. Just for the mere fact that it's a lot more effort, and you have to be, pretty talented to be able to pull it off.
You do, and you have to be interesting. I remember looking at something. Oh, it was Ayurveda cooking. And that's, from India, and it's amazing. Ayurvedics are just, probably one of the first medicines or ways of cooking, and it's very theoretical and very interesting. And the first thing I looked at was this woman, and she was walking down the lawn of this gorgeous house, sitting by her pool, talking about her, and it was beautifully shot. And she had on like a sari and makeup, and she was talking about Ayurveda cooking and what it meant. And I thought, this is such BS. This woman is, she's not an Ayurveda cook. She's like a rich woman who wants clearly. And then I kept going around and I found this scrawny kind of guy who just got it. And he had so much energy and he was charismatic. And you knew that he lived and died about, using cardamom. He was just so great. I still watch him. But I guess at YouTube, you really have to make a production.
Yeah, you do. I mean, people try to make YouTube videos at home. And to be honest, like right now, if I were to, try to make a YouTube video on who knows what, I don't think that many people would find it interesting, not because of what I'm talking about, but just because it really does take lighting and sound, and I don't know, there's a lot of effort put into that. And then the other thing about social media that I don't think that gets talked about often, brands always want to know results. And the thing about digital marketing that was different than traditional marketing is that we now have data. Right? When we used to look at, when we filmed commercials or when I did airport marketing, you really don't know how many people saw your ad, right? You can tell by how many people fly from that airport, or how many magazine subscriptions go out.
They know, right?
But you don't really know, and with digital, it's all in the numbers. Right. So anytime an influencer posts something, not only do you have that image that you can also repurpose for your own brand's channel, right? So you have the rights to, for the most part, you have the rights. You have to give, tag the person, the original content creator, so that they know that it's not their content, it's the creator's content. But then there's the aspect of how many likes they received and how many comments, and what type of comments people are saying, right? So it's not just about putting a pretty post. It's about being able to really dive into the results and analytics and saying, okay, this one post had over 3,000 likes and 600 comments. And all I did was
exciting.
It is. And that's sort of, that's the main difference between traditional marketing, I think, and digital marketing, is that with digital marketing, you can really understand the success of your campaign through these metrics.
I mean, when I post a podcast, an interview, I'll know when I did, and I will know, and they tell you exactly how many posts you got. I mean, how many people listen, how many people subscribe, and where they're from.
Exactly.
I know that my friend is in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And she and her family love my podcast. I have like a big audience, funny enough, in Las Vegas. This is so exciting. You've made this so much more interesting, and it's very exciting. What's the future going to be of this? Are we going to not see ads on television? Are we never going to have television? We'll just have our computers or some cross between a computer and a television.
It's actually funny you say that, because when I was growing up, I still had a phone in my house, like a regular phone that rang, and you didn't know who was calling you. We didn't have cell phones.
That's right. You didn't know. I forgot that.
And then caller ID came out, and we were like, wow, this is so exciting. We know who's calling us. But for the most part, you check your voicemails, and the same with TV. I remember, we just had cable TV, and we were forced to watch commercials, right? There was
Right.
every show and every movie had commercials. So obviously now times have changed. I, don't even have regular television. I have what's called a Roku, and you
Right.
can put in all the apps there. So that's where I watch Netflix or Amazon Prime and Hulu. And so I really don't see any commercials. The only commercials I ever see is during Super Bowl, to be completely honest.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like I don't, I mean, it's not that I don't think that it'll ever go away, but I just feel like there's a lot less exposure opportunity than there once used to be. And so versus on your phone, I'm on Instagram pretty much, I don't know, 5 to 10 times a day during any downtime. And if it's, if that's where people are going, that's where you got to show up.
Wow. I'm going to have to. I thought I was scrolling through Instagram before our meeting, and I wanted to try to see. And I know that every once in a while, someone will get on, like I'll see a post from someone I never heard of, and they don't look like weirdos or, and I'm thinking, how did they get to me? How did they find me? And all of a sudden they liked every photo I've done since I don't know when. So people are like able to get into your stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, they are. They could have found you in so many ways. Maybe a friend tagged you in a photo. Maybe your daughter tagged you in a photo. Maybe like you sometimes because I have a dog. I have an Instagram for my dog, which
Willie has.
I never thought I would be one of those dog moms, but yes,
boy.
Willie, my dog, has an Instagram.
All right, I gotta check that out.
And it's so easy. He actually, sadly enough, he has more friends than I do on Instagram. And it's because there's a whole community around dogs. And again, using the hashtags, people can find you. Another way people find you is if you tag the location of where you are. So if you tag, let's say, like a hike you were doing, people might look at that location and then look at all of the photos associated with that location. But pretty much,
you have to add a hashtag or a tag.
You don't have to, but if you
don't, they wouldn't know where I was.
Probably not. No, I mean, if it was just a photo of you, like right now, I would have no idea you're in Rhinebeck, New York. Right. But if you were on a hike with your family and your dog and you wanted to post about it, then yeah, I think you could do Rhinebeck. I wouldn't do like a very specific address, right? Anytime I do a post on Willie, I say Riverside Park. I don't say what exact street I'm on. It's, you don't want to have stalkers or anything like that. But yeah, if you want to tag the general area, I think that's totally fine.
Wow, this is so enlightening. I had no idea about all this.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. And I think that the main thing is that you have to think about it from a brand's perspective. What really makes your purchase, like what makes you pull the trigger on a purchase, right? We've ran so many surveys that show that more and more people are shopping on mobile than on web. So now we're wondering, are people shopping online or at retail stores? And more people are shopping online because it's so easy. I mean, look at Amazon. You order something on Prime, it comes in 2 days, and you don't like it, you return it for free, and you don't even have to leave your house.
They even give you a way to return it when you get it.
Exactly. Right. So it's almost like, why not? If I don't like it, I'll return it. Right.
Yeah,
so
you want to return this as you open the thing. It says, oh, hi, you want I want to return this.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Rosie. I haven't seen
Here's
you in
Rosie.
so long. Oh, I miss
Right.
her. I
She's a
miss her
good
ears.
girl. Rosie ears. I
She's
wanted
so
to show you. Oh, she's so
cute. Oh.
wow. So what are we looking forward to? I mean, I think if department stores are closing and your business is unbelievable, your business is good and maybe now more than ever. Is that possible?
Uh, I'm definitely more busy than I was before.
Right.
I think it's interesting because every brand is responding to COVID in their own way. And there is no right or wrong way. This has never happened before. There's no
Right.
guidebook on what to do. But I have noticed that larger companies have paused a lot of their efforts, just because marketing efforts, just because they're trying to regroup and kind of figure out what their branding voice is throughout these times. And they don't want to be insensitive. They don't want to be like, let's, like have a campaign about vacations when no one's going on vacations, right? So everyone's
money, right.
right. And all campaigns are planned way ahead of time, and they're all seasonal. So, we're right about to lead into summer. I'm sure a lot of brands have had summer sales coming up. And I'm sure that had to be re-strategized and rethinked a little bit. But at the same time, I am a huge believer that because people are not supposed to leave their house, people are home a lot more, they're on their feet, on their phones a lot more than usual, which is optimal time for brands because they need to be showing up when people are mostly home. Just to give you a little bit of a little trick about posting times. A lot of times you either post really early in the morning, when people are just waking up and they first thing they do is scroll through their social media. Right. Or you do it during midday when they're on their lunch break. Or you do it really, really late at night, around 9 or 10, when they probably have a TV show on and they're on their phone. So those are three really optimal times for posts to get a lot of exposure and likes and engagement. Now it's different. Like you can post right now at 5:13 and people are probably scrolling right now, right? Yeah. So again, I'm just trying to say that there's a lot more screen time and a lot more people on social media. And so it would be sort of a shame not to continue working on your marketing efforts at this time.
So you deal with influencers, and that's not the same thing as if I go on Amazon and I look up eyeglasses. For the next month, I will get ads for eyeglasses.
Sure.
On the news, they go into every place I go.
Mm-hmm. That's retargeting, and that's through Google or that's through a third-party platform. That's very different than.
That's different.
Yes, that's different than influencers. Influencer marketing is more like if you look at everyone's Instagram, for instance, every little square is what I call real estate, right? So it's a little box of real estate that shows just another layer of who they are. And if you mix in your everyday life, and then like, for instance, let's say your focus is vegan cooking, right? And you're constantly showing recipes, you're showing things that that you cook and people can and reuse. But then every now and then they're like, oh, have you used this spatula? It's perfect. And they'll tag the brand, and the brand might even give the influencer a 10 or 20% coupon code,
right,
that other people can use if they bought now. and it's just supposed, the whole idea is supposed to be that it seamlessly sort of fits into their category as is, right? It's meant to be to come off more genuine, but at the same time, really hated this bachelor, I don't think they would have done it. Right. There's a little bit of both. Like you have, the influencer has to also like the product and want to work with the brand.
So we're also talking about celebrities probably do this as well.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing with celebrities I've noticed is that rather than doing one-off posts, so like instead of doing like, here's $10,000, please post about our brand one time, what they're doing is they're doing a collaboration on a different level. So I'm sure you've seen the yoga pants Fabletics.
Yes.
So I know that, for instance, they've partnered with like celebrities to create a line that they helped sort of, so like the celebrity will have involvement and pick and choose like the colors or the fabric, and then it'll be a sponsorship, right? So they'll both get like, so that person will get the actor will get commission off of every sale with the collaboration of the leggings and, you know, her I guess her reputation.
And her reputation. It's like, who is it that I don't want to mention people's names that do insurance commercials and so forth. And you say, why is he doing that? Surely he doesn't have to do that. But I guess it's very tempting. You know, I guess it's very tempting to use your celebrity like that. This has been crazy. Is there anything? So the future, what are we looking forward to?
I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay.
The most important part here to know is that every social platform is constantly updating and evolving. For example, Instagram stories have been gaining a lot more traction lately. And then IGTV came out. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I am familiar. Okay. Do you mind telling me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So every video that you post on your feed cannot exceed 60 seconds. So for musicians like my husband who want to post up to 3 minutes, they have IGTV now. So you can preview it. And then if you want to listen to the rest of it, you just post it to your IGTV. So it allows for a longer timed content.
I see.
Yeah. But so the whole point here is that even in the last year alone, Instagram has, you know, come up or, you know, have all these new things happening. And so it's up to us to constantly adapt, right, to their updates. And so that's the challenging part of it all, is that we're relying on these social media platforms and constantly staying up to date with what they're updating. But as far as influencer marketing, I think this is, I mean, we've been around now for, you know, 5 to 10 years. And wow. I think maybe there'll be different levels of it. The one thing that we still don't have, which frustrates a lot of people, is a universal rate card. So
I was just going to ask you that.
So just because someone has 10,000 followers doesn't mean that, you know, they are worth $1,000. So like, it's not $1 per follower that they have. Because you know what, there's so many different variables. That person that has 1,000 followers can have horrible images. They could have bought their followers, which is something that's pretty scammy that people do.
Right.
And then their engagement level, they might have 500 likes, but then there's no comments, which is kind of a red flag, right? Because you want people to be engaging with the photo and commenting with the photo as well.
Right.
So that's what I expect to see. I want, because everyone has their own asking rate as of right now. So like I told you, some people are willing to do this part-time, it's a part-time job and they're having fun with it. They like receiving free products. So they are willing to work with brands on just product exchange alone. But then you have people who say, look, I am worth $150 for this post. Then you'll have people saying, I want $5,000 for this post. So it's really up to and maybe that person who's asking for $5,000, they'll break it down to me and say, I do graphics, I do stop motion. It takes a lot more hours than just snapping a photo with your photo. With your camera. So then it's up to the brand to decide, okay, what is our budget? And can we afford this person? Can we negotiate with them slightly? But ultimately, there's just no way of us saying, no, this is what you're worth. Right now, it's the influencers telling us what it would take what it would take them to work with the brand. And the brand either accepts or counter offers.
So is this cheaper than advertising on television and in magazines, do you think?
Yes, I think it's cheaper.
I think it's a lot cheaper.
Yes. I remember when I used to work for the airport division, for the billboards at the airports, we were working with brands like Burberry, Tiffany and Co., like brands with a lot of money.
Right.
And they were spending, I don't know, anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 for a display ad per month.
Not to talk about what it costs to shoot. I did one, I can't remember the bank. It was in Singapore airport. People would take pictures and show it to me. It was in so many airports and these huge posters. They pay that much. Oh my.
So right, because they have to have the photo shoot beforehand, right? And to create the ad and then to even put the ad up, it's very costly. So that's the other thing that works in the brand's favor is that, as you know, as a brand, you have to have a social media presence. A lot of people are not sold just by their website. They want to read reviews. They want to know what other people have to say. So I think that brands who have a social media presence tend to have a lot more purchases rather than those that do not, right? But to constantly post for your brand and keep up, it's hard. And a lot of people tell me, oh, I've had photo shoots that ended up costing thousands of dollars. Instead, I'm just going to use influencers and repost their stuff because you get pretty much double the fun, right? Because they're posting it, right? And then you get the exposure from their audiences, and then now you can use that photo to put on your Instagram and say, look at this person talking about our product. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. We do, as an actress who does commercials, we do more and more. We're doing our castings at home. So I have a whole setup that I bought from B&H Photo. And
they're closed now.
Huh?
They're closed now. I walked by them the other day.
But you can call. I just called and I ordered stuff from them.
Oh, okay.
From a great guy. I'll tell you all about him. But I just ordered stuff because I had a mic at home when I used to do voiceovers at home. But now the voiceover is not just an audition, it's the actual ad. So people are doing this at home. And So what you're talking about has a lot to do with what I'm talking about. I mean, why wouldn't you just do a video of a script? Hi, I'm Betty Lee, blah, blah, blah. Do it, send it in to the company, and that's how they cast. It's a whole, or maybe even have a casting director. So you are the future, Michelle. You are presenting us with the future, and I think a lot of people listening maybe had no idea of the vastness of this.
Right. Yeah, it's not a straightforward answer. And I think I might have mentioned this to you earlier at some point, but like people are always like, oh, coming up to my husband and I and asking, what we do. And my husband says, oh, I'm a musician and a professor. And people understand that right away. And then they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I work in influencer marketing. And you can kind of just see their brain sort of trying to think about what I just said. And you're right, most people really don't know unless they're in the marketing industry to some capacity, or if you have a brand, you definitely are familiar with what it is. But yeah, I would have to agree with you. A lot of people are still not very well versed in exactly what influencer marketing is. But
No.
if I can wrap this up in any way, I would probably say that influencers are average people that are very relatable to people like you and me, and we follow them because they provide some type of education or some type of benefit for us. Like, for instance, the type of followers I like, influencers I follow are people who are interior designers, and then sometimes I'll go, oh wow, I really like that new shelf that they just put up, and then they have a link to the to buy the shelf, and then it's so easy for me to just click and see how much it is, if it's worth it, blah blah blah. So everyone sort of has their own thing about what they like to follow and what they're influenced by, and so it's definitely a thing that's it's not just catching fire, it's already caught fire.
Well, there's a Buddhist monk that I love what he says and who he is, and he helps people. He's amazing. And he is a brilliant photographer, without question. And I mean, he's brilliant. I'll send you some of his images. And he had one the other day, and I know that he's a Buddhist monk, so he's not in business selling, but you can buy them and they go to, some of the wonderful things that he's doing. A Karuna Session Monastery. And I know that I'm doing something, and and in their own way, they're doing the same thing. They're
Exactly.
selling those photographs. It's a great thing because they're doing it to help people. So
right. And you, I'm sorry, just one last thing.
No.
You have to. The one thing that influencer marketing has really helped is small businesses. As you know, the cost of creating a commercial is very costly.
Right.
And so you have the mom and pop shops or the smaller businesses or the small fries that can't afford to ever create a commercial and air. As far as influencer marketing, it's actually kind of trending right now to be an indie brand or to be, a cruelty-free beauty brand. And so you can literally work out of your home and just have a story to tell and still get the message across to all of these different people all over social media, right? So it's really giving the smaller businesses an opportunity to maximize their exposure.
I love that. I mean, we don't need department stores anymore. I'm sorry for all the department stores, but people don't shop that way anymore. I mean, I cannot thank you enough for this. I'm sure people have so many questions, but I think we covered. Did I miss anything? Did we?
No. I think your questions were fantastic, and let me know if there's any other questions that come up. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
This is Michelle June, and we didn't talk about you. We didn't talk about your background, but you're my friend, and we're kind of related because of our dogs.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you so much.
All right. No worries.
Take care.
You too.
Be
Bye-bye.
safe.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.